Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New Jersey, where it is raining. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's coming down pretty good out there. So today in the barn shop, what we have is not a motorcycle for those of you who are very keenly attuned to such things. This is a lathe. Specifically, it's a very old lathe that I acquired from the eBay off of someone that was willing to sell their father's old lathe. They passed on some time ago, and now gets to live a second life. And dude was super cool about it. Just an awesome help getting the lathe in the truck and everything like that. But I'll walk you around all the operation of it here, and it is a Sheldon made in Chicago, Illinois, around about 1940, 45 kind of time frame. Giveaway for that is that the first selector on the gearbox for the lead screw is this shifter lever type mechanism instead of the tumbler here. Past 1947, this had two tumblers, but everything on it works. It goes forward, it goes backward, it can reverse the lead screw. The back gears work even though I don't have the change wheels for metric, so I can only cut imperial threads with this right now. But a nice feature of this particular lathe is it has a slot running down this lead screw here that turns a friction clutch here, and that gives you two things. First, in this position, it gives you powered feed in the Z direction. If we just move this in here, dial and a cut, it'll feed right along there. Now in the other mode for that, I'm going to back this up so I don't crash the lathe, we get powered cross feed for facing of the same direction here. The other thing you get is this half nut operation. This is for screw turning, and that lets you cut threads. So it's great that everything works on it. However, if you lean in close to your computators there, you'll see that, one, it's filthy. The ways are covered in schmoo and could really use a good cleanup. It's also kind of rusty. You know, I can put it in some Evapor Rust or WD-40 Rust soap or whatever and kind of just make it look a little bit nicer. But there's also some mechanical problems. The tailstock is out of shot, but you can see the ram on it here is covered in kind of nasty stuff, and the hand wheel doesn't work all that well. It's also missing the handle that locks it in place. I'll see if I can get one of those. Another thing it's missing is there's a threading dial that's supposed to go right here, and that is missing. Maybe I'll see if I can get another one, but it's not that critical of a thing. The biggest thing is this. That's far too much play in this crossfeed, so I'm thinking there's an Acme nut down here that might be a replaceable item if I can get my hands on it, or worst case scenario, I have a lathe, I'll make one. Going to tear this down and just kind of clean it off, get rid of all the old chips and stuff, and get it so that it's ready to turn and burn. Alright, let's get started. So we're back over on the welding table where we've taken off the tailstock, and we're just going to try and break it down and get it apart real quick. Well, I bet that's got something to do with it. I don't think this paint's probably any good for you at all. Can never ever guess hex keys. Sign of quality, we've got some shim stock here. It's probably to set the height of the tool center there. That's got a little friction thing here that pushes into the ram here. Don't know if you can see down there, but it's right there. That pushes into the ram and locks the ram in place. Right now I'm just struggling to figure out how to get the hand wheel screw out of this bore and how to get this out. Everything else seems to make sense. Let me get back to you. Turns out there was nothing to getting the lead screw out. I just kind of take this woodruff key out and it just pushes out this way through the tailstock. I didn't get this out and I kind of just figured it wasn't worth it. Maybe rethinking this because a little bit of acetone and this hammer tone just comes right off, so I'm probably going to have to take this back to bare metal to refinish it. But the hand wheels and such, I will get into the WD-40 soak. Ram itself looks pretty decent. This set screw here is kind of puzzling. It goes just there. What I had thought it was to keep this, the lead screw from backing out if you were trying to pull on something with that. But as near as I can figure, that's what this does. And what I think is that this is this entire metal piece here. It looks like a different piece. This is cast iron. This is 1000 series steel or something like that. And I think that that's an interference fit, and you can just heat and beat this entire assembly out because this is just plain bearing on this, and this is a very tight sliding fit in there. So I think when that wears out, you just beat out this whole thing and put in a new one. And that's what that set screw's for, is to hold that in place. Took a couple of days off there, put these old rusty hand wheels in this stuff right here, which did a pretty good job of getting all the rust off. So all this looks pretty good, and it comes out a little dark, but you just hit it with some Scotch-Brite and it's pretty decent. Had been going to leave this old paint on and just clear enamel it, but there was just so much of it coming off that I'm gonna hit it with some remover here and then use some silver hammer tone paint here to spruce it up a little bit. Hadn't even noticed those were there. Got a new bench broom here to coat this stuff up in. Let's see how this works. All right. This stuff looks pretty good. Takes on that hammer finish right away. Alright, got 2 coats of hammer tone paint on this, and it's just starting to get touch dry, so we'll try and attempt the reassembly here. We never took out this bushing here, so there was no need to take out this grub screw. So that trick with the xylol is actually what I did to do this oil cup here. I just came in and kind of brushed off thing here with a bit of thinner, and then the spots where I had ruined the paint, I just made a little brush out of obviously a clean shop towel, just put a little bit of stuff on it there and just moved it around and just made a little tiny brush, and this stuff just finds its own level. It's pretty cool. Okay, so then the lead screw just kind of goes in. It will go in there. Let's just get some. Maybe use this thing here. That way it's pulling straight. Well, that's not how that's meant to turn. Okay, so we get our key in here. Okay, so those keys in are. Crap off of that. Screw should pull it the rest of the way in. Okay, let me back that off. And alright, that's not too bad. Not too bad. And we just put our ram back in. There it goes. And we just let that Acme, left-handed Acme, take it in. And there you have it. And this is our ram lock here. There's that. Okay, so then there's this piece here. This had a lot of shim stock in it, and I didn't pay attention to how they came out, and not all of it's actual shim stock. A lot of it looks to be just kind of roofing metal. So when I get centers for the lathe, I will actually make sure that this lines up correctly. And what you do with that is put these guide screws in here. And what these are for, I figured out, I did not notice this when I was painting it, is that you have a little gauge here. I did notice the gauge lines, I didn't know what they were for. But this lets you gauge a taper when you're turning between centers. Okay, so then the next thing to do is move that taper line there into center, which is about a little less than 1/8 of an inch off now. There we go. And there Okay, so that binds in there. This lets it ride in the tail, or on the ways, and it's just held on by this very bent bolt here. Okay. Ow, fuck! Moron. Put that right down to my damn finger. This just goes here. And there is a little wrench handle for this, but I didn't get it with the lathe, so I've just got to keep around 7/8, I think, wrench. So, alright, that is the tailstock. Done.